spiritually to be able to navigate various situations that will present themselves. Then you will need to grow socially. And then finally, you will need Allah at one point or another. You will certainly be confused at one point or another. So you hang your problem on Allah, and that is spiritual growth. Now tonight, we want to look at one umbrella factor that affects all growth. It affects us spiritually, sometimes also physically. Once you have spiritual, psychological, especially spiritual, psychological, and emotional problem, your physical appearance will respond to it. So it will be very difficult for anybody to recognize the fact that you are traumatized. So it is a factor that is supposed to assist human beings to succeed in intellectual, social, and psychological, and also spiritual growth. But unfortunately, because it is wrong, it is the same factor that affects other growth. It is material education. If you like, call it paper education. If you like, call it limited education. It is schooling. You go to school, there is a time bound for your education. 6 years in primary school, 3 years for JSS, 3 years for SS, minimum of 4 years for university education. 12 years, plus 4, 16 years. In 16 years, you have completed education. 16 plus whatever age you started school. This is the time you can think of any other thing. And you graduate with only one evidence, a piece of paper. This piece of paper becomes a God. This God determines what job you do, where you live, that your type of accommodation, the clothes you wear, the job you do, the marriage, and the way you manage your marriage. With due respect, a graduate of English is not as sophisticated and as traumatized as a graduate of medicine. Not because the graduate of English spent 2 years less in school. The graduate of medicine spends about 6 years, and the graduate of English spends only 4 years. But because in society, the medical doctor is more important than the graduate of English, history, post science, sociology, geography, and the rest of them. The one that is least in importance and honor is the graduate of Islamic studies or Arabic. Is not as important as a medical doctor or an engineer. Some other time, we are going to look at the fallacy in this paper education. But tonight, let's look at how this paper education affects us in every way. Now, compared to Islamic education, it doesn't have time bound. It is not necessarily regimented, and it is not necessarily formal. Islamic education starts from the cradle to the grave. If you have a teacher who is supposed to be your father, your education with your father does not end until your father dies. If you have a teacher who may be another person, a member of your family, a male member of your family, your mother, or any other person, your education does not end until your teacher dies. There is no graduation. Although, unfortunately, we now do walima, and a child leaves the makaranta after walima, and that is the end of it. We have Christianized and Europeanized Islamic education. So Islamic education does not give you a certificate that will turn itself into a god, that will determine the job you do and the time you marry. Islamic education makes you ready to marry from puberty. Islamic education, for example, makes you an entrepreneur in training from age 10. The age when it becomes compulsory for you to worship Allah is also the age when it becomes compulsory for you to earn a living. Material world says this is child labor. You are not helping a child if you are going to disturb him from going to school. We believe that going to school is the same thing as education. We didn't understand. And we're going to continue this discussion on Saturday, inshallah ta'ala, when we continue our conversation on epistemicide. Now, they keep telling us that you should waste the time of your child. You should waste 16 years doing nothing, learning nothing, having no skill, being useless to himself and to his parents, because his education cannot make him earn a living unless he is employed as a slave. We call them civil servant, public servants, no matter what you are. But let's look at it. A common example that I always give is this. After school start or after primary school education, it doesn't take a Mason 3 years to learn the work and to start earning a living. A Mason anywhere in Nigeria today earns 4,000 minimum, at least 3,500. 3,500 in 20 days is not 60,000. That is the maximum that a grade level 8 graduate will start with. And if he has apprentices to help him, he can have more than 1, 2, 3 jobs, and he can earn more than 4,000 a day. In a month, with 4,000, he's earning 80,000 in a month, 20 days, 4,000 in 20 days. A graduate does not earn 8,000. Now look at it. The graduate is earning less. The Mason is earning more. But it is the same graduate whose certificate will make him so proud as to come home and booga and pretend that he's better. Because he has gone to school, the Mason has not gone to school, is superior to the Mason. So when the Mason who earns more, who may be wiser, who will have married before the graduate finished, or before he got a job, before he thinks of marriage, he will now be compelled to take the child of the Mason who earns more than him to assist, because he's a graduate and he will not come home to live the life of reality. He will borrow and live fake life. And so everybody wants him to assist because after all, he's a graduate. Thank you. Now, we see this situation. Education has put us into trouble. It has made us stupid. You are going to help somebody who earns more than you. If there is need to contribute in the family, the graduate pays more than the Mason. It is this same paper that determines where he lives. This Mason may be building a 6-bedroom, face me, I face you, and become a landlord. This graduate can never think of becoming a landlord if he does not steal in his workplace. And then when you steal, when you now go spiritual, what you're earning as salary cannot give you a car, cannot build a house. You must desperately make it. Others are making it anyway. Then you go spiritual. You do extra to make it in order to continue to be materially superior to those who did not go to school. Fake life. So you drop spiritually. So your spiritual development is impinged. Your material development is slowed down, is affected. Your psychological development is altered. Your emotional development is forgotten, forgone. How? Because you have to work hard. Work may take you out of your home. And so your emotional need is not satisfied. You only manage. Your wife, who may be a graduate too, will pursue her own duty. Your education separated you. You live in Abuja, your spouse lives in Lagos. You are making steady economic progress, but no development. You are not happy because you cannot satisfy your emotional needs. Your education still tells you all is okay, all is well. It is not all about sex, but you know that it is all about sex. But even if it is not all about sex, it is all about touch. It is all about attention. It is all about presence, attention and attendance. Attention and attendance will be affected by job. The more progress you make on your job, the more separated, the more the gap, the wider the gap between you and your spouse. And your children are also going to school. At a point, they also get lost. You lose them to the society. They go to the university. They become strangers in your life. You only see during the holidays. And it is safer, cheaper to put your children in the hostel. Some, like somebody on this platform, started from primary school. Yes, I've seen him. He started being in the hostel from primary school. And it doesn't mean anything. And we pass this tragedy on to our children. So it is not allowing us to grow. So when the complications now come into our lives, we now resort to spiritual solution. We want to approach social, economic, and psychological problems spiritually. We tend to think that our prayers are not answered. It is not that our prayers are not answered. We are praying for what we need to take practical action about. So this is a major problem. It is not a new topic, except that it must be a new topic to people who are just joining us. So paper education is a major hindrance to spiritual development, emotional development, psychological development, material development, and intellectual development, because learning ends at graduation. Whereas Islamic education does not call for graduation until we started it. And that is the complicity of the Muslims in epistemicide. We started convocation. We started the walima. We will honor the graduate. Although in reality, education does not end. But education is not targeted at becoming a slave of your certificate. If you're a medical doctor, you must be a medical doctor. And until you get a medical practice to do, you are useless. You're an engineer, you must be an engineer. But let's look at it. Let's face the fact. A family of 7 certainly does not need as many lawyers, engineers, medical doctors as mason, plumber, electrician, farmer, trader, truck driver, and the rest of them. Because what a family of 7 needs are food, clothes, and shelter. Shelter, either they rent and maintain or they own and maintain. In maintaining their shelter, they need carpenter once in a while, electrician once in a while, plumber once in a while. They don't need an engineer to maintain their house. They hardly need a lawyer to maintain their house. They need a farmer somewhere to supply their food, and they need a trader to go to the farm to bring the food to the market where they go and buy. They need Okada rider, taxi driver, or mechanic to maintain their car with which they will go to the market to buy the food. And they need a tailor to sew their clothes. They don't need an engineer, they don't need a doctor. Why are we producing doctors, engineers, lawyers in hundreds every school, in thousands, hundreds of thousands every year? That is why they come out and find no job, because the society does not need them. If the society does, in limited number, we don't need an engineer to produce our fan, our phone, our television. We need technicians. But every child must go to the university, because university education makes you a boss. But no country develops with university education. University education is a specialized education, purposely for research. And we don't need research on everyday basis, but we need these technicians, technical education on everyday basis. We need specialists sparsely and occasionally. Here we are. Because of developmental issues, problem of underdevelopment, our emphasis is university education. Every community is owning a university. And then we would be producing this university graduate who will be useless in the society. They won't get a job, and crime rate will increase. They are not going to contribute to the economy, but they are going to consume. So parents will continue to take care of their children until they are 30. And if they get to 30, they can't get a job, they can't marry. And if they marry at 30, they can't manage their spouses. If the girl marries at 26, 27, going to 30, she cannot manage her marriage because she's already grown up, grown beyond the level of a bride. The groom cannot groom the bride because they need to be groomed from that relatively young age to maturity. You groom your bride to become a wife. And the wife and the husband are neither wife nor husband materials because the parents did not have their time to train them. Gaps have been established among them. This is briefly what material education does to your spiritual growth and development, to your material growth and development. It limits you. It makes you feel inferior and uncomfortable to use your brain to contribute meaningfully to economic development of your society. It makes you a slave. You must look for a job, and you must waste your time, and you must skip developmental milestone. The time you are supposed to be earning a living, you are not earning a living. You are memorizing your notes in the university. And whoever does not have the opportunity to go to university is psychologically depressed. Even if he goes to Polytechnic and gets an HND, he's still psychologically depressed. Even if he's a teacher, he does not feel good. Even if he's a graduate from the Faculty of Art, he doesn't feel good. I mean, when he's a lawyer, and he can be a driver, he can be a mason, he can be any other thing, he must never be, because he's a learned person. Only a few people will be lucky. So this paper education affects us in every way. What is the solution? Those who can afford university education should endeavor to pay, support their children to earn a degree. Is a political activity. Those who cannot afford should launch their children into entrepreneurship from age 10, latest age 15. While he's going to the university, if he must go, while going to any other school, if he must go, above school cert, he must be able to earn a living, contribute to his own personal development, and contribute to society. If the girl must go to school, she must not be a liability. She must not be a burden to herself and to her family. She must not go into marriage expecting that she will have the best of both worlds, the material world and the spiritual world. Marriage is a spiritual world. Somebody is going to sacrifice for somebody. To be a husband, properly so called, is a life of sacrifice. You are working, earning only to put everything down. You are serving your family without expecting thank you, because they didn't send you. Your wife did not come to your house to say, come and marry me. You went to her to say, marry me. And she has married you. You must be responsible. You are serving the woman and whatever comes out of her, and you are not sharing. Islam does not allow you to share. If she helps you, fine, you must appreciate, but you must not make it a duty to help you. You must not say, after all, you earn, because she has her own family to take care of. If you are not shameless, you should take care of her, take care of her family. That means being a Muslim and being a husband makes you to be on your feet, running, to take care of yourself, take care of your wife, take care of your children, take care of the families of your children, of your wife, because you have established a consanguine relationship with another family. You caused your family to be related to another family. But material education that limits you imposes a responsibility that is not your wife's on her. And you get angry if she's not forthcoming. Who tells you that you have married a Khadija? You are not Muhammad. You cannot marry an Aisha and expect a Khadija in your house. I repeat, you cannot marry an Aisha and expect Khadija in your house. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had value that he himself did not know, that Khadija saw through the use of the extrasensory perception that an average woman has. And Khadija probably had extra sensory perception. Who are you? Who are you that has no value that the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had to expect your wife to become an Khadija? She doesn't have to see any value in you. She sees you as a human being, a boy desperate to marry her, and you must take care of her. That is your responsibility that Allah has imposed on you. So your material education that limits your resources now imposes this wrong notion that your wife must contribute. Your wife must help you. She must be Khadija. No, she doesn't have to be Khadija. She doesn't have to be Aisha either. But she can be Zainab. And even where she is Zainab willingly. Zainab, the mother of the poor, she is Zainab willingly. Why? Because Allah imposed Zainab on Muhammad. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Allah conducted the nikah. It is there in Surah Al-Azhar. So these are the realities that people are Meet this person. These are the realities. Nobody's going to preach to you. I have told you as an opening remark that every problem we have is due to our misunderstanding and mismanagement of our paper material education. Every graduate sees himself as superior to a non-graduate. This is not a criterion. Your material education is nothing in Islam. It's nothing. It does not place you on any class. There are only two classes, the Muttaqun and the Fajirun. What makes you to belong to the class of Muttaqun? It is Taqwa. And Taqwa confers honor on you, not your education. Whoever you are, Allah says, Inna khalaqnakum min zakar wa unsa. We have indeed created you as male and female. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلًا. We made you into tribes and nations, لِتَعَرَّفُوا, for identification. So you went to school to become engineer, to become doctor, to become professor. Identification. If there are more than one Tawfiqs, one is a professor, one is not a professor. You put the title to distinguish. If there are two Professor Tawfiqs, one is an Imam, one is not an Imam, the title Professor Imam or Imam Tawfiq is just for identification. Where is the honor? In Taqwa. In akramakum indallahi atqakum. Unfortunately, we confer honor on ourselves based on our education. And this is wrong. And this is what puts us on the road. We want to live up to the expectation of our educational qualification. It determines the house we will rent. It determines the bundle and the burden and the magnitude of the debts we will be owing to parent, to buy a car and pretend that we are big men. Now, when we are still paying this rent, the natural response in man to marry second wife, third wife, fourth wife, this is purely natural. It has nothing to do with religion, except that Islam regulates it, not more than 4. It is just natural. A man is naturally polygamous. Then the natural tendency in you wants you to add wife, but your resources have been limited by your education. Then you marry second wife and you complicate your problem. But you must marry second wife if it is your qadar. But it is probably not your qadar to remain poor due to insistence and sticking to the requirement of your certificate. You are a lawyer. You must only be a lawyer. You cannot trade. You cannot use your brain to make extra money. And if you must use your brain, you must cheat. You must take certain things. If you are whatever professional, you must be corrupt. And you cannot be corrupt and then develop spiritually. Because habits does not go with tayyib. Impurity does not go with purity. And once you try to fake your life, your spiritual development stops. So these are the issues tonight. Why do they prefer to be nice to women outside and not to their wives? The answer is simply 1, it is natural. 2, it is taking our spouses for granted. It is natural. Before I go to blame men, let me call your attention to how women also do this. When you have a guest, whether male or female, the way women respect outsiders, if they show such respect, such care, 50% to their husbands, the world will be better. There are special plates, special cups, special spoons for guests. The way they will serve their food, the way they will take care of them, if they do 50% of that for their husbands, the world will be a better place to live. Men too are human beings. The question ringing in the minds of women, men, is that, are these guests, outsiders, are they better than me? Let us go funny, very funny. Sometimes you flatulate. Whatever. You live dirty between you. You're not going to do that when a guest is there. You will leave the living room to go and ease yourself. But you don't respect your spouse, whether your husband or your wife. You are so far. What you will not do to insult outsiders. Are outsiders better than insiders? No. Does the woman who take care, who respects her husband's friend, in love with her husband's friend? No. Inside her, she's doing that out of respect for her husband. It is an honor to the husband. There's no way that woman will know that it is hurtful to the husband. The same way it is hurtful to the wife when the husband, who does not show much care at home, who does not respect the wife at home, begins to care for another person's husband, another person's wife, as if she prefers her to his, as if her husband prefers the wife of his friend to his own wife. It is not so. The same way the man feels when his wife respectfully takes care of another man is the same way the woman feels when the man shows almost positive affection to the man. Sometimes you go to your friend's house, his wife gives you a treat, you come back home and start condemning your wife. And then exactly the way you condemn your wife, that she does not know how to take care of people, is the same way the husband of the woman you are comparing your wife with feels towards his own wife. That, is my friend better than me? Why do you treat me like this? Many husbands go to the kitchen to pick their food. Many husbands are not served. And many women will not ask their children to serve with full respect, with neatness, with turning their guests into. These are the issues. We take one another for granted. Why do we take ourselves for granted? Taking your spouse for granted. This is going to be the theme of next discussion. Inshallah ta'ala. Why do we take one another or each other for granted? Why do we do that? If you're not taking me for granted, you're not going to treat me the way you treat me. If I'm not taking you for granted, I'm not going to treat you the way I treat you. Many men don't introduce their wives in public. They don't. Unless they are compelled by circumstances. Why is that? Why? And many women do not want to stay close to their husbands in public. Why? Eh? We don't shake ourselves, we don't touch ourselves in public. Is it out of modesty or piety? Why is it that very ignorant men may shake hands with other women outside? And even inside, they don't shake hands with their wives. We don't touch. Why do we take ourselves for granted? This is where I want to stop tonight. I observe that this platform does not increase from 100. What is happening? Many people want to come in and it's not admitting them. What is happening? I stop here. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khairan, sir. So, brothers and sisters, here we have time to contribute, seek clarification, give information, enrich the discussion. As usual, let us read our digital hand to indicate our interest in contributing to the discussion. But we have just 3 minutes to go, and we have to spend 1 minute or maximum 1.5 minutes. Brother,
mashallah, but before we take contribution, we regret to announce the passing away of our very active brother Ismail Tayo Sundino, who died yesterday. He was a very active member of DF Lagos, and he worked tirelessly at the last Dawra. May Allah forgive his sins and admit him into Al-Jannah. We ask Allah to help the family he left behind and make us meet and join us together in Al-Jannah. Bismillah.
لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Allah Akbar.
So thank you very much. Yeah, let's see your contribution.
I want to, as usual, thank our mom for this exposition. The issue of education, and I want to thank you, sir, for some of us who are just still relearning. You learn, you unlearn, and you relearn. I think we are relearning because we are now at the point of taking care of our children. And at this point, I want to sincerely thank you, sir, for opening our eyes again. Some of us have taken the bull by the horn by making our children to acquire skill apart from their education. I think it is we have to share the gap of shyness or pride because we are graduates. Our time is up. We are very lucky at our time when we are following our parents. We saw education as a means of what can I say? Preparing our meal for us, and by doing the work we are doing now, and our children are also lucky because the economy has turned upside down. And of course, too, while we are doing that, we're not following the right part of Islam to do that. So we are learning, and I believe that we need to learn. And not learning is not enough than to put into practice by making our children to better than us in terms of acquiring skill before they get to the age of puberty. Secondly, sir, the issue you addressed last is between us and our spouses. And I observed this some months back. I used to take some families up in terms of training. And these are what I've discovered, sir, that by the time we go into industry, we are going to expose more to us. You have just talked about what happens to us outside. But even inside, sir, some people we don't dress well, both husband and wife. If you are going to have a guest now, you see, it doesn't happen to me anyway. I only observe elsewhere. It doesn't happen in my house. You see the wife rushing to, apart from the fact that using hijab, is then she will change clothes. Sometimes we just dress when we are going out. We don't dress to attract. We don't play. We don't talk. So when you see, like you answered the question now, when Asada are coming, I see the way your wife is preparing. There's no way the man who is sensible, who are the people coming to this and that is making this out to look like this. Sometimes we don't even complain. Some wives tell their husband, please, I want you to be using PEF. Of course, it's sunnah. Not because the man is smelling, but that is what she wants around. She wants to hear very good, around her. So most of the things that happens are, if we're able to do things within, a man will naturally resist outsider. Not to talk of a woman getting close to you. How do we feel, sir, if a man now send a picture of your wife to you, the way she dressed, if she dressed well, and you are not admiring her? So they say, can you see your wife looking good? And you feel embarrassed. So may Allah continue to guide us. Thank you very much, sir. May Allah preserve you for us. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Alaikum.
Alaikum
Barakatuh.
Alaikum.
My first concern has to do with the issue of our paper education, skill acquisition, and financial literacy or independence of our children. I generally think that Nigerians are always too European than the Europes. We are too Catholic or too Christ than the Catholic or the Pope. Most times we take what is convenient for us and leave what is not. As a practice, any child above the age of 14 to 16 is not only, even in this part of the world, not only allowed but encouraged to work and earn. And as a matter of fact,
Tell us which part of the world. Tell us, please. Many people don't know where you are talking from.
Well, okay, from the UK, sir.
From Europe,
Yes,
especially
sir.
UK.
Yes, sir. That number one, every child at secondary age school must be exposed to what you call volunteering before the age of 16. The meaning of that she must start to learn skill. She will not be paid. From 16 years old, she must be paid, and they have their own minimum wage compulsorily, age of 16 years. And at 18, if you are living in the house of your father or your mother, you may have to pay rent. So, in other words, you must start to work. This idea that we will not allow children to work, we will feed and continue to spoon feed a child up to the age of 50. It is not only un-Islamic, it is also counterproductive. A number of children does not have what to call financial education, does not know how to make money and manage money. These are things that we must start to teach our children, starting from home. That even if it will mean that you have a boy of 10 years, if you help me to wash my car, I will give you a pound. This 1 pound, if you wash car every week, for example, I give you a pound. Maybe at the end of the month, you have 4 or 5 pounds. So at the end of the year, we can use this money to do something. And ask him what we want to do this money for. We must teach our children as Muslims what we call financial literacy, how to make money. So this is part of curriculum here that a child must do. From secondary school, year 7, 10, he or she will go out and work in an establishment, volunteering. It will be part of his or her CV. So if you become an age of 16, you want to apply for work, probably will ask you, what volunteer work have you done before? So but in our place, I think some of us are very unlucky anyway, that we have to sponsor ourselves through polytechnic and university. So we learn it the hard way. So, and I don't think it is too much for it to also be, like I said, we have schools. For God's sake, the DF schools, are this part of our programs? What makes it impossible to have financial literacy, volunteering, skill acquisition as part of our own curriculum. That's just my first point. The second point has been adequately raised by my respected one and only big brother, Alhaji Abdulrazak Adedayo, is the issue of appearance at home. The first time that was when I was working in OAU as Alpha. One of the book I read was written by Aisha Alimi, Allah forgive the woman. She wrote a book about her experience about Nigerian Muslim women. She said she met a Muslim die in transit in a plane and promised to pay him a visit. On getting to the man's house, he knocked the door, he met the woman, the wife alone at home, gorgeously dressed. And she said, oh, I came to ask for your husband. We met also. The woman asked her in, and she said, no, I won't, because I saw that you are dressed, you want to go out. And the woman told her, no, I'm not going out. I dressed this because my husband will soon be returning from work. And she said she was shocked. Because our experience with Nigerian women is that we dress gorgeously when we go to work, when we go out. At home, our mother, our wives, not my wife, will tattered wrapper around their chest and will be doing all sorts of things. And I think this, again, we should put a stop to it. Women should, just like I said, it is an insult to husbands, and the men felt cheated that your wife will go to work, will go out and well-dressed. At home, they will wear the worst of their clothes, thus taking the husband for granted. I've said the same way the husband, of course, the wife feel taken for granted. When the husband, I think these are things we should start to address among ourselves, especially for those who are married, those who are marrying, that those dresses that, so to say, that men seem to appear outside, it's not forbidden for sisters to wear inside. Perfume is forbidden for men to wear outside. It's not forbidden for them to wear inside their house. Let me rest my case because I know the coordinator is Salaam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khairan. Global Amira.
Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I join others in appreciating my professor's son. The Almighty Allah continue to keep you for us in goodness and reward you abundantly here and hereafter. Yes, the previous speakers have spoken, but to every general rule, there are exceptions. Although it might be just 10%, it could be 20, it could be 25, but there are definitely exceptions. Now, imagine a scenario that the wife decides to be dressing at home to kill, to impress the husband, to attract the husband, at least to make the husband happy. And the husband refused to see. By the time the wife is even calling his attention, he says, please don't bother me. Because the training, the upbringing is that the wife, immediately the wife is married, she's like a slave in quotes. So she's not something of substance. So she's not something that she should be, appreciated. It's like I've bought you, so you are there. There is no hard and fast rule about it, but not to overflog it. The area I want to actually talk about areas that I want to really want our Imam to emphasize is the fact that is it possible for the Muslim the Imams, our ulamas, to try and emphasize more the importance of marriage vis-a-vis the reward of doing it well coming from Allah, and not just seeing it as an act of worship that is just like, Salat is an act of worship, Zakat is an act of worship, going on Hajj is an act of worship, and they don't really see the importance of marriage. They don't see that, most men see that when marriage breaks, it's the woman that suffers. And that is the way they treat women, that don't worry, if I deal with you, I'll get another woman. Because imagine a scenario that you take it upon yourself, just like Imam said, that you went to the woman and to ask for her hand in marriage. You now married her and you decide to ill-treat her. At the end of the day, you feel, well, what can she do? you can always go out and get somebody else. I think we really need to work more, because most of the time people come out and blame the woman when there are divorce cases. Ní ayé àtijọ́, àwọn òbí wa wọ́n gbà sára àwọn ìyá wa, especially because when you are living home, up to our own generation, when you are living home, they are telling you that kò sí yàrá ẹ̀ ń bímọ, you are not coming back here. But nísìnyí, àwọn ọmọ wa obìnrin ò ready láti gbà láàbọ̀, àwọn ọkọ wọn, àwọn ọmọ ọkùnrin ò ready láti wọ́n kún. And what informed this is because of what they have seen in their homes. Some girls have seen that what my mother has taken, I'm not ready to take that bullshit. And from the majority of our boys have seen that their fathers are irresponsible and my mommy is taking it. So when they grow up and they become husbands, they want to do what their fathers have done. You can imagine a man saying that, a family saying that because it was their mother that took care of them, so the man have now decided to dump his 3 children for the wife, that the wife should take care of them. After all, so please, how can our ulamas try and educate our father? We have duties as parents, but the ulamas that are getting them married, and because the ulamas have told them that according to Sharia, when the husband says, I am divorcing you, the woman cannot contest it. It's only when the woman asks for kulu that the husband can contest. I think we really need to work more on this. I pray Almighty Allah will continue to direct us aright, keep our homes, our children, and make our woman exemplary for everybody. The Almighty Allah forgive us. Thank you for your opportunity. Thank you. Salaam alaikum.
Soft link, briefly, so that you can cap it up. Soft link infotech.
Akim Oya now, Abewoni.
Please, Imam, it is.
Sorry, ma'am. I didn't unmute myself. I'm sorry.
Please,
I've already started
let
talking.
us be brief. It is already 8:30 and 9:30.
Okay. Briefly, I said I won't want Imam to blame us too much, because in this part of the world, we joined the Western education at industrial age, when industry are the main thing. They only they train people or they educate people to be workers. And that is what our fathers got from education. And you can't give what you don't have. They only give us what they had during their own time. I think that is the main source of the problem, why we so cherish the certificates too much. But really, some of us are also very lucky. We don't know. Because I know, like myself, whatever we are doing in school is not really the way you should live. You should prepare yourself for real challenge. And the joy of education is when you apply what you have learned. And that is why that is why some of us have never used that certificate for one day. Rather, we have created a path for ourselves. However, we have used the basis, as you know, Imam, that it's not only the education that we're supposed to gain from the university, the moral aspect, other aspect. University is supposed to expose someone to a lot of education, a lot of learning, a lot of opportunity. I think that's what some of us have gained. And again, the third thing is our parents matter. This is where the issue of parents comes in. Like myself, I worked very well with my mom, who is a trader. Yateminta eponi. But lati kekere, not if you call wakpe, to bantele mi lo soja. Mal sopu fe joko si jo yatemine kon. Kini wono fe gbele to fe mata. Emita kerosene, mota fere, mota oríṣiríṣi ọjà, mota magi, mota ragolis water. Boy be mo ti mọ̀ pé èèyàn lè sọ tọrọ di kọ́bọ̀. Tó yẹ pé èèyàn náà sọ pé òun náà ní nǹkan. Then o lè plan lórí nǹkan tó o bá ní. And that is where the joy comes from. So I think that is the area that our parents gbọ́dọ̀ take care very well. Nísìnyí pé kí la fẹ́ ní kan ọmọ wa máa kọ́. yàtọ̀ sí iléèwé tí wọ́n ń lọ tó máa padà wá wúlò fún wọn. Nítorí báyé sọ, wọ́n ní iṣẹ́ ọmọ aláṣẹ jẹ òwò rí ọmọ aláṣẹ là. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni experience òwò ṣe rí. Ìyàn máa ń ṣe là ni, but iṣẹ́ pé ká gba wages àṣejẹ ni. Ẹ máa ṣe ká lè ro oúnjẹ jẹ ni. So ìyẹn ni mo rò pé ó jẹ́ ká tẹ̀pẹ̀lẹ̀ mọ́ ká tún emphasize for today's parents. But fourth point I want to raise is, by the grace of Almighty Allah, things are now changing, because our ọmọ tó ṣe ń dìde ń sìn, wọ́n ti rí i pé certificate náà fẹ́ wúlò mọ́, wọ́n ti ń rí reality látara àwọn òbí. So that because of that, some of them are also developing their soft skills, which is helping them now. And no more career path. Most people are not developing career paths, especially the graduates now, the youth of today. But the problem still lies with the parents that are forcing the children now to say, okay, you must have a career path. Career path doesn't suffice anymore. Let them develop their soft skills and let them develop along that line. For instance, if a child is very good on maths and is not good in English, the normal thing the parents will do is to get a teacher for that child to teach more of that English, neglecting the mathematics. But to me, what I'm saying now is, if your child is good in mathematics and is not good in English, you can just help the child a little to pass, but look for a teacher or a mentor that will continue to maximize the profit or the benefit or the natural thing, that natural tendency in that child to develop more in the path of mathematics, so that will be more skillful, and then it will be easier. Lastly, Imam, this is a kind of question or clarification. Are we a spiritual being experiencing a physical world, or we are a physical being experiencing a spiritual world? Which one are we between the two? Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Yeah, alhamdulillah, this is 4 minutes beyond the normal time.
We're not going to take any other contribution. And we want to plead with our people to do two things each time they contribute. Stick to the thing we are discussing on. Don't introduce extraneous matter. Now, we not answer the question posed by the last speaker, because it's a whole subject. And if somebody does not get it, he cannot get anything. If you don't know yourself, you cannot get anything. We can't introduce that now. So I'm sorry, I cannot answer that question. Not because I don't know, but because it is a distraction tonight. Okay. As for what Towa, well, so I agree with you, what Towa, but we didn't know. Must we continue like this? So may Allah save our families. Number one issue, the ulama, they are the greatest danger to Islam. Let me take only one issue raised by Global Amira, that the Malam say that the husband can divorce his wife and the divorce must go through. It's only when the wife wants to divorce the husband that the husband can contest it. It is not true. This is what they say about giving the power to destroy the woman to the man. If it is true, why did Allah reveal Surah Al-Mujadila? A husband divorced his wife. The wife went to the Prophet and complained. It was a pre-Islamic attitude. And Allah had this complaint and revealed a whole surah in support of this woman and imposed punishment on men who do this. It was divorced by Ziyar, and this woman was at the receiving end. suffering on account of this man, spending our money to take care of this man. And when they both became old, he wanted to divorce her. Allah rose in support of this woman. The greatest dangers we have is that men who mediate between women have had their own homes destroyed and shattered. So most of the time, they don't see anything wrong in what their brothers do. So they want to invoke the odious part of the Sharia to justify the evils that some men do. This is not to say that divorce cannot take place. It can take place. If the marriage is not working, let it go. I would rather have my daughter come back home than treat her in a psychiatric hospital or bury her. I mean, if my daughter is going to go mad, let her come back home. But then to say that the man can divorce his wife, somebody even told me that without reason, that the man can divorce his wife without any reason. Oh my God. And it was one of our big brothers that did it. He was in politics. And in his 4 years as whatever he was, he married 4 wives and divorced 3. The 4th one is still in contention as we speak. And he told his mate that Sharia allows him to divorce his wife without any reason. We are taking steps. We are going to throw spanners in their works. Anybody that wants to open his mouth to talk about any matter in Islam from next year, inshallah ta'ala, will have us to contend with. We're not going to talk about books anymore. We are going to talk about the Quran. Allah says, "Ma faratna fil kitabi min shay'in." Nothing have we omitted from the book. Don't quote books to us anymore. Tell us, did Allah say it? If it is important, Allah will say it. If Allah does not say it, it is not important. So I'm sorry I'm getting angry. Please, Global Amira, I understand where you're coming from. It is painful, quite painful. But this is the situation we found ourselves. We were negligent. We didn't expect it. But it started happening. 2 of my own children had been returned from their marriages to Salafi stupid brothers. I'm sorry to use that word. And these are products of miseducation. And so it's painful, but we are wiser now. I mean, if we are not going to bravely start marrying our cousins to ourselves, our children to our cousins, to their cousins, then we are going to marry our children to our children. We're not going to marry our children to outsiders, people we don't know. We don't want to go and find out who you are anymore. We know your parents. And we need to be patient with our children to make them accept this. Many of them don't want to do what we are doing because we are also not good. We are not good examples. We're not good wives, we're not good husbands to our children. So we are causing this trouble indirectly. May Allah save our marriages. I want to stop here and hand over to the national coordinator to conclude the program. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen for another exposition tonight. That is what we get when we continue to learn and we are sincere about seeking for knowledge. We'll see that we learn one new thing or the other. So we thank everybody on this call, and I hope, as happened to me, that I pick one thing or the other from today's episode. We pray Almighty Allah to make this one to be useful for us in this world as well as in the hereafter. May He make it a source of goodness for us in this world. With the parent we've learned now, we've talked about the aspect of the parent. I hope the organization too will be working towards making our children to be useful and making our marriages to work. That's what we can promise you in the front of Nigeria. We are trying our best to make sure that we make our marriages to work. And we pray Almighty Allah to let us work together, live happily in this world, enjoy the al-Jannah of the two worlds, both of this world as well as in hereafter. Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah continue to replenish us and increase us in risk, in health, give us long life. And our brother that have gone, up to the one that left yesterday, Brother Ismail of Shundi Kitayo, who always contribute on program like this. May Allah forgive all of them, accept them as his abdi, and make us to witness more of this program. Jazakumullah khairan. Till next week again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So inshallah, we prepare towards next week. Why do we take ourselves for granted? Why do we say take ourselves for granted? We pray to Allah for our life. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta
Amen.